In this segment, we discuss the design of the fabric and the basic stitches that make up knits. There are only three types of loops or stitches possible in weft knitting: knit, tuck, and float. Let's take a look at the first one, the knit stitch. If every needle is fed a yarn and goes through the basic knitting cycle, the product is referred to as single jersey. All loops are knitted, and all loops look exactly alike. Look closely at this drawing of a regular knit loop. The length of yarn in that loop is called the stitch length. Notice how each loop has what can be identified as legs and a crown. The fabric at the left is technically the face side, and the stitches have an overall vertical appearance. On this side you see primarily legs rather than crown. The fabric at the right is technically the back, which takes on a horizontal appearance. In this view, you see mainly crowns. Referred to as a jersey stitch, stitches arranged in this pattern have a distinctly different look and feel from the face to the back. Another type of stitch is referred to as the tuck stitch, because one yarn is tucked behind another and hides. The pattern on the left shows the technical face for a tuck stitch. Follow the green shaded course of yarn across the pattern and it looks like a loop has been tucked behind another. The pattern on the right shows the technical back for a tuck stitch. From the back, the tuck is more visible to the eye. How is a tuck stitch made? During the tuck cycle, at feed 1, the needle moves up from its rest position and the old stitch that has been formed is held and not allowed to clear the latch. Yet the needle moves up far enough to grab a second yarn, which is put into a tuck position. Both yarns are then kept at the rest position. The knit cycle occurs with the next feed of yarn. At this time, both yarns are cleared. A new yarn is fed and pulled through both the held and tuck loops, forming a tuck stitch. The stress caused by holding one elongated stitch for an extra course causes more length shrinkage, but less in width than a regular knitted stitch. The tuck loop makes the fabric wider and thicker and slightly less extensible. What is the overall structural effect of tucks on knits? Tuck stitches can give a fabric a cellular appearance. Some people refer to this as mesh. Tucks are the basis for piqué, typically used for golf and tennis shirts, which need to breathe, retain their shape, but have some stretch. A wide range of piqué constructions can be made depending on the use and frequency of tuck stitches. The third type of stitch is the float, which is also called a misstitch. The drawing on the left is a technical face. On the face, in the middle course of yarn and middle wale, it looks like the machine has hidden the colored yarn in the back. It is not captured or knit with any other stitch. This is the float or misstitch. On the technical back, you can see how the loop floats. To produce the float stitch, on feed 1, a yarn is laid to rest behind the hook of the needle. The needle remains at the rest position. It is not activated in the float cycle. In the knit cycle, it is. When a subsequent yarn is knit at the next feed, the missed yarn floats to the technical back of the fabric. Loops can be made to float over a series of wales. To make the structure secure, some float yarns can be tied into the ground with a jersey or tuck stitch. Float loops make the fabric more narrow and less extensible because the floated yarn is in a straight configuration. Why would you produce a structure with loops that float? Floats are useful for pattern effects, where some colors appear on the front and others are hidden on the back. This checkerboard pattern uses gray and white yarns. When the gray yarn knits, forming a gray square on the front, the white yarn floats to the back. If you turn the fabric over and inspect the back, the colors appear reversed. A second use is to create surface effects or change the performance of the fabric. You can make loops float on one side of the fabric, then nap them to produce a fleece. If not napped, these floats can be used for aesthetics or function. You've just seen how 3 stitch formations can be used in different ways. All can be produced on warp or weft machines, or used for single or double knits.